You see the plastic skeletons and the bags of candy, and you think you understand Halloween. You don't. The entire holiday is built on a foundation of bizarre history, commercial desperation, and some truly weird traditions that got lost along the way. We're about to expose 49 of them. Your childhood memories might not survive this. 1. The name Halloween sounds like something cooked up in a marketing meeting, but it's actually a lazy contraction of All Hallows' Eve. This was the solemn evening before All Saints' Day, a time for religious reflection. So, somehow, a night dedicated to honoring martyrs and saints morphed into a national excuse for adults to dress as pirates and for children to engage in a citywide sugar shakedown. It's a beautiful testament to how any sacred event can, with enough time and commercial pressure, become a celebration of cheap plastic decorations and questionable decisions. The saints are probably not amused. 2. There's a persistent myth that Mexico's Day of the Dead is some kind of dark, depressing Halloween twin. This is profoundly, almost offensively, wrong. The idea of it being a somber affair with no fun is a spectacular misreading of an entire culture. While Americans are busy with fake blood and jump scares, people in Mexico are throwing a full-blown family reunion in cemeteries. They bring food, music, and tequila to the graves of their ancestors to celebrate their lives. It's a vibrant, colorful, and joyous event about connection and memory, not fear. Frankly, their version seems a lot healthier than ours. 3. That figure you hear about Halloween spending isn't just a fun fact, it's a non-negotiable social tax. The average person celebrating Halloween now spends over $108 per year on the holiday. This isn't a voluntary purchase. It's a tribute paid to the tiny costumed mobs that roam the streets after dark. Consider it a protection fee to prevent your house from getting egged or your trees from being draped in toilet paper. It's a fascinating economic ritual where we collectively invest in a temporary truce with the neighborhood's youth. 4. Anoka, Minnesota, didn't just wake up one day and decide to call itself the Halloween capital of the world. The title was earned out of sheer desperation. Back in the early 20th century, the town's Halloween pranks had gotten so out of control that city officials staged a massive parade and celebration to distract the little vandals. So, the world's biggest Halloween party wasn't born from a love of the holiday, but as a last-ditch effort by exhausted adults to stop their mailboxes from being blown up. It's a classic case of civic planning born from pure, unadulterated chaos. 5. In 2013, on October 31st, a massive flood devastated Austin, Texas. It was immediately nicknamed the Halloween Flood, which proves that humans will find a way to brand a catastrophe with a catchy name. You have to appreciate the universe's dark sense of humor. It's as if Mother Nature saw a holiday dedicated to fake horror and decided to deliver an unsolicited audition with the real thing. It's a chilling reminder that no matter how many plastic skeletons you put on your lawn, the universe can always, and easily, upstage your decorations with some genuine, unscripted terror. 6. October sees a massive spike in horror movie viewership, a time when we all collectively agree that paying to have our nervous systems shredded is a valid form of entertainment. It's a bizarre cultural ritual where we sit in the dark and watch characters make catastrophically stupid decisions, all for the cheap thrill of a jump scare. It speaks to a deep, primal need to experience terror from the safety of a couch, with a bowl of popcorn as our only defense. We're essentially stress testing our hearts for fun, which is probably not what our cardiologist would recommend. 7. The American public spends roughly $3.6 billion on Halloween candy annually. Let that number sink in. That's not just a lot of sugar, it's a financial force of nature. It's more than the gross domestic product of several small countries, all spent on items that will be consumed in a single night. This is the financial engine behind a perfect, self-sustaining economic loop. The candy industry creates the problem in October, and the dental industry cashes in by fixing it for the rest of the year. 8. People used to believe that dreams on Halloween night were a direct line to the spirit world, offering a preview of your future. The rules, however, were absurdly specific. Dreaming of mundane things like water or stones meant you were about to get rich. But dreaming of something beautiful like flowers or something dramatic like a storm meant you were in for a world of trouble. It's a system of divination that feels like it was invented by someone who really, really hated flowers. By these rules, dreaming about your car insurance renewal is probably a sign of immense future prosperity. 9. If you think Halloween is a modern invention cooked up by candy companies, you're off by about 2 millennia. This holiday has been kicking around for roughly 2,000 years, tracing its roots back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. While we now spend the night worrying about candy distribution and costume malfunctions, the Celts believed the veil between the living and the dead was at its thinnest. They lit bonfires and wore costumes to ward off ghosts. It's incredible that a tradition has survived for this long, evolving from a mystical pagan ritual into an event where your dentist's kid extorts you for a Kit Kat bar. 10. These days, Halloween has a monopoly on spooky stories, but the Victorians had a different idea. In 19th century England, the prime time for telling ghost stories was actually Christmas. While we're dreaming of a white Christmas, they were settling in by the fire to scare the living daylights out of each other. The most famous example is literally Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, which is, at its core, a terrifying ghost story. It's a bizarre tradition that makes you wonder what other holidays they were getting wrong. Did they hunt for eggs on Thanksgiving too? 11. We complain about getting candy corn in our trick-or-treat bags, but it could have been so much worse. Back in the 1950s, a popular prank was to give children actual pieces of coal instead of candy. This wasn't just a threat from Santa Claus. It was a real-world disappointment delivered by your own neighbors. Imagine the pure, soul-crushing moment when you reach into your bag expecting chocolate and pull out a chunk of fossil fuel. It's a level of mean-spirited trickery that you have to respect, even if it was probably a direct cause of a lot of childhood therapy sessions. 12. Halloween wasn't always a nationwide American obsession. For a long time, it was a minor, regional affair. We have the massive wave of Irish and Scottish immigrants in the mid-1800s to thank for turning it into the spectacle it is today. They brought their traditions of dressing up, pulling pranks, and, most importantly, carving jack-o'-lanterns, though they originally used turnips and potatoes. America did what it does best. Took a foreign tradition, supersized it, and commercialized it to an almost unrecognizable degree. And our lawns have been filled with inflatable ghouls ever since. 13. If you've ever wished you could live inside a movie, the residents of St. Helens, Oregon are way ahead of you. Every October, the entire town transforms itself into a real-life replica of the setting from the Disney Channel classic Halloween Town. They don't just put up a few decorations, they go all in, recreating iconic scenes and hosting month-long festivities. It's a level of collective commitment to a nostalgic piece of pop culture that is both deeply impressive and slightly concerning. You have to wonder what the property values do during that month. 14. The modern vampire is often portrayed as a suave, misunderstood romantic figure. But the original concept was far less appealing. The first known stories of what we would call a vampire date back to ancient Greece, and their version wasn't a handsome guy in a castle. They believed that certain corpses could reanimate, crawl out of their graves, and literally suck the life force from the living. There was no gothic romance, no brooding anti-hero, just a terrifying, undead monster. It's a myth that has survived for centuries, even if it has gotten a serious and very sparkly makeover along the way. 15. The iconic Ghostface mask from the Scream franchise, which terrified an entire generation of moviegoers, wasn't created in a Hollywood design studio. Its design was directly lifted from Edvard Munch's famous painting, The Scream. It's a fascinating journey for an image, from a masterpiece of expressionist art symbolizing existential dread to a mass-produced piece of plastic worn by teenagers making prank calls. One has to assume that Munch, in his wildest, most anxiety-ridden nightmares, never could have predicted his art would become the face of a multi-million-dollar slasher series. 16. Everything is bigger in America, and Halloween parades are no exception. The title for the largest on the planet goes to New York City's Greenwich Village Halloween Parade. This isn't just a few floats and a high school marching band. It's an absolute explosion of chaos and creativity that draws over 2 million spectators. The event features giant puppets, thousands of outrageously dressed participants, and an energy that feels like the entire city has collectively decided to lose its mind for one night. It's less of a parade and more of a massive moving block party for the weird and wonderful. 17. While the traditions of Halloween are ancient, the name itself took a while to be officially documented. The very first known use of the term All Hallows' Eve in print appeared in the year 1556. To put that in perspective, this was a time when Shakespeare hadn't even been born yet, and the average person was probably more concerned with surviving the plague than with collecting candy. The fact that this specific phrase was written down over 460 years ago shows just how deep the roots of this holiday run. It has outlasted empires, wars, and countless fads. 18. Today, the flavor of autumn is unapologetically pumpkin spice. It's in our coffee, our candles, our everything. But in colonial America, the go-to beverage for Halloween gatherings was good old-fashioned apple cider. It was the original cozy, seasonal drink long before corporate coffee chains decided to turn a gourd into a global marketing strategy. It was simpler, probably spiked with something strong, and didn't come with a side of judgment for ordering it. It's a reminder that there was a delicious, autumnal world before the great pumpkin spice takeover. 19. In old folklore, owls were viewed with a deep sense of suspicion and fear, especially on Halloween. These birds were widely believed to be witches in disguise, flying through the night on their way to cause mischief. If you were walking home on Halloween night and heard an owl hoot, it wasn't a charming bit of nature. It was a potential magical threat. People would genuinely shriek in terror at the sight of one. This explains a lot about owls' permanently unimpressed expressions. They've been dealing with these ridiculous accusations for centuries. 20. For many kids, Halloween isn't just fun and games. It's a genuine source of terror. In fact, the fear of Halloween is so common it has its own official name, Samhainophobia. Think about it from a child's perspective. The world suddenly fills with grotesque decorations, and creepy-looking strangers in masks are actively encouraged to approach you. It's a holiday where the normal rules of "don't talk to strangers" are gleefully thrown out the window in exchange for candy. While adults see it as a charming tradition, for a significant number of children, it's a full-blown, real-life horror movie they are forced to participate in. 21. The universe has a wicked sense of humor, and there is no greater proof than the death of Harry Houdini. The world's most legendary escape artist, a man who could break free from chains, safes, and straitjackets, died on October 31st, 1926. He couldn't escape a ruptured appendix. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. For years after his death, his wife held a seance every Halloween, hoping he would make one final, spectacular escape from the other side. He never did, proving that even for the great Houdini, death is the one trick from which no one returns. 22. While America is drowning in a sea of pumpkin spice lattes and novelty costumes, it's easy to forget that Halloween is not a global phenomenon. In nearly all Muslim countries, celebrating Halloween is forbidden. It's viewed as a pagan or Christian-rooted festival that conflicts with Islamic teachings and values. This isn't a matter of opinion. It's a formal religious and cultural stance. It's a fascinating cultural divide, a reminder that while one half of the world is debating the merits of candy corn, the other half simply sees October 31st as a regular Tuesday, completely devoid of ghouls or goblins. 23. Long before horror movie marathons and prestige TV series, the definitive piece of Halloween media was It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. First airing in 1966, this animated special became a cultural institution. It captured the pure, unadulterated spirit of a childhood Halloween, from the excitement of trick-or-treating to the unwavering, almost tragic faith of Linus, waiting in a pumpkin patch. For generations, this wasn't just a TV show. It was an annual ritual that officially kicked off the Halloween season. And let's be honest, we all felt a little bad for Charlie Brown and his bag full of rocks. 24. Playing pranks on Halloween is a time-honored tradition, but in the 1920s, it escalated into outright chaos. This wasn't just kids throwing eggs. It was widespread vandalism and property destruction on a massive scale. The trick part of trick or treat was taken very, very seriously. Things got so out of hand with street-wide mayhem that several cities seriously considered banning Halloween altogether. The holiday was on the verge of being canceled due to its own success, forcing communities to organize parades and official events simply to distract the youth from their annual night of destruction. 25. Corn mazes are a staple of autumn, but the scale of these things can be mind-boggling. The world's largest corn maze covers over 60 acres. To put that in perspective, that's more than 45 football fields of dense, rustling corn stalks designed specifically to get you lost. It's an agricultural labyrinth of manufactured terror. You willingly pay money to wander through a giant vegetable patch in the dark, where the only sounds are the wind and the unsettling feeling that something is watching you from the next row over. It's the perfect and most bizarre way to experience farm-to-table fear. 26. The zombie apocalypse has already happened. It's just a voluntary annual event. Zombie walks have become a Halloween staple, but the largest one ever recorded took place in Minneapolis in 2014. Over 15,000 people, 15,000, caked themselves in makeup, ripped up their clothes, and shuffled through the streets groaning for brains. It's a surreal spectacle of coordinated, undead performance art. For one day, a significant portion of a major city's population decided to collectively pretend the world had ended, proving that people will do just about anything to escape the monotony of being alive. 27. The act of going door-to-door for treats is much older than you think, but it started with a very different goal. In the Middle Ages, it was called guising, where children and the poor would dress in costumes and offer prayers for the dead in exchange for food, wine, or money. They weren't after a sugar high, they were after actual survival. The modern, more demanding phrase trick or treat didn't even appear in writing until 1927, which feels incredibly recent for a tradition that seems so ancient. It marks the moment the practice shifted from a plea for charity to a low-stakes threat for confectionaries. 28. Every autumn, like clockwork, skeletal retail stores materialize in the abandoned husks of failed businesses across America. These are the pop-up Halloween stores, with chains like Spirit Halloween opening nearly 1,400 locations a year. They are the ultimate business model. Appear out of nowhere, sell people overpriced polyester costumes and plastic skeletons for 2 months, make a fortune, and then vanish into thin air on November 1st. These stores have become the commercial harbingers of the spooky season, turning the graveyards of dead retail into a temporary and highly profitable haunted house of commerce. 29. Here's a statistic to make the hair on your arms stand up. Supposedly, 1 in 5 people claims to have seen a ghost on Halloween. Now, whether this is a result of the veil between worlds actually thinning, or simply the power of suggestion combined with a few too many alcoholic party beverages, is up for debate. Halloween night creates the perfect psychological storm for paranormal experiences. You're already primed to be scared, the atmosphere is spooky, and every shadow looks like a phantom. So, is it real, or just our imaginations working overtime? That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? 30. Americans don't just celebrate Halloween, they fund it like a small war. In 2024, spending on the holiday rocketed to a staggering $14.2 billion. That isn't a typo. $12.2 billion. This money goes toward costumes that will be worn exactly once, mountains of candy destined to be eaten by parents after the kids go to bed, and elaborate lawn decorations to impress the neighbors. It's an economic powerhouse of a holiday, driven by nothing more than our collective need to embrace the spooky. 31. You might think Halloween is all fun and games, but in some US towns it's governed by surprisingly strict laws. In Hollywood, for instance, the use or sale of silly string is completely banned on Halloween, carrying a potential $1,000 fine. Apparently, the cleanup got so out of hand it required legislation. Even more bizarrely, several towns in Virginia and Maryland have age limits on trick-or-treating. If you're over 12 or 14, going door-to-door for candy could land you with a misdemeanor charge. It's a sobering reminder that nothing ruins fun faster than bureaucracy and a few messy teenagers. 32. While the whole country buys candy for Halloween, one city stands above the rest as the undisputed champion of confectionery consumption: Chicago. Year after year, the Windy City purchases more Halloween candy than any other city in the United States. Why? No one knows for sure. Maybe the trick-or-treaters there are more numerous, or perhaps they are just more intimidating. Whatever the reason, Chicago takes its candy distributing duties incredibly seriously, ensuring its streets are paved with chocolate and its children are sufficiently sugar-crazed by the end of the night. 33. Some people collect stamps. Others collect Halloween candy. One American collector has taken this hobby to a level of obsession that is both horrifying and impressive. They hold the world record for the largest collection of unique Halloween candy items, clocking in at 7,444 different pieces. This isn't just a pantry full of sweets. This is a meticulously curated museum of sugar. It represents a lifetime of dedication to preserving every limited edition chocolate bar and every novelty gummy. One can only imagine the state of their dental records. 34. One of the oldest and strangest Halloween superstitions claims that if you stare into a mirror in a darkened room at midnight, you will see the face of your future spouse. This seems less like a charming folk ritual and more like a recipe for a full-blown panic attack. Let's be realistic. You're not going to see your soulmate. You're going to see your own sleep-deprived reflection, distorted by the darkness, and you will scare yourself half to death. The only thing you're likely to summon is a profound sense of regret for trying it in the first place. 35. The very first Halloween celebrations in America were a far cry from the chaotic, sugar-fueled spectacles we know today. They were often called play parties, which were basically wholesome community gatherings to celebrate the harvest. People would share stories of the dead, tell fortunes, dance, and sing. It was organized, it was civilized, and it was probably incredibly tame. This quaint tradition slowly morphed over the centuries into our current version, where the main activities involve threatening neighbors for candy and spending a fortune on costumes that will be worn exactly once. It's a classic American story of taking a simple tradition and making it bigger, louder, and infinitely more expensive. 36. The most divisive candy in human history, candy corn, was originally marketed under a far more fitting name: chicken feed. When it was invented in the 1880s, this was its official title, which is perhaps the most honest piece of advertising ever conceived. Given its waxy texture and its questionable flavor profile that lands somewhere between honey and plastic, the idea that it was intended for livestock makes a shocking amount of sense. The name was eventually changed, but the spirit of chicken feed lives on in every bag, a silent admission of its humble and possibly agricultural origins. 37. Over the decades, countless songs have topped the Billboard Hot 100 chart. But only one Halloween-themed song has ever achieved this honor, and it's not some haunting gothic ballad. It's Monster Mash by Bobby Boris Pickett. This goofy novelty track about a graveyard party somehow managed to become a #1 hit. It's a testament to the song's ridiculous, undeniable charm that a simple tune with a Boris Karloff impersonation could conquer the music world. It proves that sometimes, all people really want is a song about monsters dancing, and no amount of serious, artistic music can compete with that. 38. Halloween seems like an unstoppable force, but it met its match during World War II. The tradition of trick-or-treating was effectively suspended across the United States due to strict sugar rationing. You can ask a nation to sacrifice gasoline and metal, but telling an entire generation of children that their annual candy heist is canceled for the sake of the war effort. That's how you know things were serious. It's a surreal image. Kids on the home front, forced to trade their quest for chocolate for a sense of patriotic duty. Even Halloween had to do its part. 39. The friendly, smiling jack-o'-lanterns you see on every suburban porch are a modern invention. The original versions were not designed to be cute or welcoming. They were carved to be grotesque, monstrous, and genuinely terrifying. Their purpose wasn't to be a charming decoration, it was a form of supernatural home security. These horrifying faces were meant to scare away stingy Jack and other evil spirits that might be roaming on Halloween night. We've since domesticated our pumpkins, turning instruments of fear into cheerful greeters, which probably says a lot about our modern relationship with evil spirits. 40. According to ancient folklore, Halloween is not just a night for mortals. It's considered one of the most important dates on the witches' calendar. Legend holds that this is one of the nights when witches hold their major gatherings, known as covens. You have to imagine it's less about spooky incantations and more like a corporate annual general meeting. They probably review curse quotas, workshop new potion recipes, and debate whose familiar is the most effective. It's a night of serious magical business, happening just out of sight while the rest of us are busy arguing about costumes. 41. In a shocking twist that defies all logic and reason, the most popular Halloween candy in the United States is not a chocolate bar, it's Skittles. In a nation built on iconic chocolate brands like Hershey's and Reese's, the top spot is held by tiny fruit-flavored sugar pellets. This feels like a statistical error, a glitch in the matrix of our collective sweet tooth. It suggests that on the one night dedicated to indulgence, Americans are shunning cocoa in favor of a rainbow of artificial flavoring. It's a culinary mystery that may never be solved. 42. Amidst all the sugar and chaos, a genuinely brilliant and considerate tradition has emerged: the Teal Pumpkin Project. When you see a teal-colored pumpkin on a porch, it's a signal that the house offers non-food treats for trick-or-treaters. This simple act makes Halloween inclusive and safe for kids with food allergies, who are often left out of the fun. In a holiday that can be overwhelmingly about consumption, this project is a refreshing reminder of community and kindness. It's one of those rare ideas that is so simple and so good, you wonder why it didn't exist sooner. 43. Before jack-o'-lanterns became the main event, the central feature of ancient Halloween rituals was the bonfire. But these weren't the cozy, marshmallow roasting fires we know today. They were called bone fires for a reason. People would literally throw the bones of slaughtered livestock into the flames. This was believed to have protective powers, warding off evil spirits and the devil himself. It was a grim, smelly, and probably very effective way to send a message to the supernatural world. Thankfully, this tradition has largely burned out, replaced by much less intense backyard fire pits. 45. The tradition of bobbing for apples seems like a quintessential all-American party game. However, its roots stretch all the way back to the Roman Empire. The game originated from a Roman harvest festival that honored Pomona, the goddess of fruits and trees. When the Romans conquered the British Isles, their traditions merged with the Celtic festival of Samhain. So, the bizarre and hygienically questionable act of dunking your face into a communal bucket of water to bite a floating apple is, in fact, an ancient pagan ritual, and we've been doing it for fun ever since. 46. The dark, moody aesthetic of black lipstick and heavy eyeliner is now a Halloween staple for people of all ages. But we need to thank the goth subculture of the 1980s for making it mainstream. They were the pioneers, rocking the dark and dramatic look as a daily uniform long before it became a once-a-year costume for everyone else. Halloween is essentially the one day where the rest of the world gets a free pass to borrow the goth aesthetic without a long-term commitment. For that, they deserve a nod of appreciation from behind a veil of black lace. 47. The entire tradition of carving pumpkins is thanks to the Irish legend of a man named Stingy Jack. The story goes that Jack was a manipulative drunkard who tricked the devil not once, but twice. When he died, he was barred from both heaven and hell. The devil, annoyed but bound by his promise, sent Jack off to wander the earth for eternity with only a single burning coal inside a carved-out turnip to light his way. When the tradition came to America, immigrants found that pumpkins were much larger and easier to carve than turnips, and the modern jack-o'-lantern was born. 48. Candy corn has been a subject of intense debate for generations, but one thing is undeniable: its incredible staying power. This waxy, tri-colored treat has been around for over 130 years. It has survived world wars, economic depressions, and the endless scorn of its many haters. Whether you consider it a delicious seasonal delight or an inedible blight on the holiday, candy corn is a permanent fixture of Halloween. Its sheer refusal to disappear from store shelves every year is, in its own way, the scariest thing about it. It's not just a candy, it's a survivor. 49. The witch's cauldron is an iconic symbol of Halloween, instantly conjuring images of bubbling green potions and magical spells. In ancient times and folklore, the cauldron was a serious piece of magical equipment, a powerful vessel used for transformation, divination, and brewing potent concoctions. Its modern-day equivalent, however, is a large plastic bowl used to serve a disgustingly sweet party punch, often with gummy worms or dry ice thrown in for effect. It's the perfect metaphor for modern Halloween, a once powerful symbol of magic, now reduced to a novelty serving dish. We've talked a lot of history, but let's get personal, and I mean painfully personal. Every single one of us had that one horrible, cheap, plastic costume our parents forced us to wear as a kid, the one with the suffocating mask and the flimsy smock that tied in the back. I want to hear about it. Go to the comments and describe in excruciating detail the most embarrassing, soul-crushing costume you were ever forced to wear. While you relive that trauma, hit the like button and subscribe. Misery loves company.